Another common reason to get an RFE is maintenance of status. Now, they always issue RFEs because you cannot, especially if you're filing for an extension, or you're filing for a change of status, or you're filing for a transfer, they want to make sure that you are presently in status. Otherwise, they cannot issue you the H1. If you're filing for consular processing, which means that if you're not in the country or you're willing to leave the country and, go to the consulate, get a visa and come back in, then they will not, ask you for documents to show that you're in status. Otherwise, you have to provide, the I-94s to show you're in status, all the I-797 approvals, pay stubs. If you're presently on a H1, it's not just a H1 approval, but to show that you're actually working on a H1, you have to actually submit pay stubs from your present employer, verification letters, etc., etc. Now, make sure you submit this again. This is all basic information. If you don't submit it, you'll get an RFE. So make sure you submit all this information. Sometimes, even if you send out the I-94s and all the basic documentation, you might still get an RFE, especially if it's a maintenance of status issue related to a student. So when you're a student and if you're on CPT or OPT, they want to make sure that you maintain your status on OPT, on optional practical training, which means they want to make sure that you have actually worked on optional practical training, that you have met all the requirements. There are certain rules with reference to the CPT and OPT. So then they will get asked for documentation from the school or from your employer to show that you've actually worked for the required number of hours. So that's the maintenance of status in conjunction with, being on an F1 status and filing a change of status from F to H.